Maxillary artery. Maxillary artery is a larger terminal branch of the external carotid artery. Then about the origin of the maxillary artery. The maxillary artery arises from the external carotid artery behind the neck of the mandible and within the substance of the parotid gland. Then about the parts. The maxillary artery that has three parts. It is divided into three parts by the lower head of the lateral pterygoid muscle. Lateral pterygoid is one of the muscle of mastication. So it has the maxillary artery that has three parts. The three parts are the first part, the second part and third part. The first part is also called as mandibular part. The second part is called as pterygoid part and the third part is also called as pterygopalatine part. So the maxillary artery that has three parts and it is divided into three parts by the lower head of the lateral pterygoid muscle, that is one of the muscle of mastication. Then about the course and relation of each part. So the course and relation of the first part that runs horizontally between the neck of the mandible and the sphenomandibular ligament below the auriculotemporal nerve. Then it passes along the lower border of the lateral pterygoid muscle. Then about the second part runs upwards and forwards superficial to the lower head of the lateral pterygoid. Then about the third part that passes between the two heads of the lateral pterygoid and through the pterygomaxillary fissure, it enters the pterygopalatine fossa. So this is about the parts of the maxillary artery. Then about the branches from each part. That is, the branches from the first part are, from the first part that give rise to 5 branches. The 5 branches are deep auricular artery, the anterior tympanic artery, middle meningeal artery, accessory meningeal artery and inferior alveolar artery. Then about the second part that give rise to 4 branches. The 4 branches are deep temporal artery, pterygoid artery, Maxillary artery and buccal artery. So the second part that give rise to 4 branches. Then about the third part again give rise to 6 branches. The branches are posterior superior alveolar artery, infraorbital artery, greater palatine artery, pharyngeal artery, artery of the pterygoid canal and sphenopalatine artery. Then about the area of distribution. That is, from the first part that give rise to deep auricular artery, and this deep auricular artery that supplies the skin of the external acoustic meatus and the outer surface of the tympanic membrane. The second branch is called as anterior tympanic artery that supplies the inner surface of the tympanic membrane. Then the third branch is called as middle meningeal artery that supplies the skull bone as well as to the meninges. Then the fourth branch is called as accessory meningeal artery. It supplies the dura mater of the floor of the middle cranial fossa and it is also the chief source of blood supply to the trigeminal ganglion. Then the last branch from the first part is the inferior alveolar artery that supplies the lower teeth, the tongue and mylohyoid muscle and also to the chin. Then about the area of distribution for the second part. The first branch is called as deep temporal artery that supplies the temporalis muscle. And from the pterygoid branch or the pterygoid artery that supplies both the medial and the lateral pterygoid muscles. Then the third branch, that is Maxillary artery that supplies masseter. Then the buccal artery that supplies buccinator. So all these are the muscles of mastication. So from the second part, all the branches that supplies the muscles of mastication. Then from the third part, the posterior superior alveolar artery that supplies the upper molar teeth, the premolar teeth and gums and as well as to the maxillary air sinus. Then the second branch that is called infraorbital artery that supplies lower orbital muscle, the lacrimal sac, the maxillary air sinus the upper incisor and the canine teeth. Then the greater palatine artery that supplies the soft palate, the tonsil, the palatine glands, and also the mucosa of the roof of the mouth and also to the upper gums. Then the pharyngeal branch that supplies the nasopharynx, the auditory tube, and the sphenoidal air sinus. Then the artery of the pterygoid canal that supplies the auditory tube, the upper part of the pharynx, and the middle ear. Then the last branch from the third part is called a sphenopalatine artery. It is a very important branch of the third part that supplies the lateral and medial wall of the nasal cavity. So this is about the maxillary artery. So about the maxillary artery, that is the larger terminal branch of the external carotid artery.